Now, as you see the symbol here, this is a representative of the seven virtues of Bushido, or the way of the warrior. Okay. And there's a certain code of conduct here. And one of them is integrity, respect, courage, honor, compassion, honesty, and loyalty. Okay. Of course, the names are, if you translate them more from Japanese, is, you know, I'm not going to fight to go through pronunciations, but the point I want you to understand is that this is a form of a code. This is a form of a code of conduct. And I think that one of the reasons why I picked the name Black Bushido is because I said, you know what, I would like to at least have the example of a sense of code and a way of life to live based on a form of code. And what I want to talk to you guys about is we need to go back to having an honor code amongst men, or a man code. And I don't think that that's been a um, very well upheld, hasn't been upheld like it's supposed to be for a long time. And I can tell you that definitely a lot of the culture has done that to its detriment, to society's detriment. Feminism definitely has encouraged that, men to basically, be after each other at the instruction of the gynocracy. But, we need to actually think in terms of dealing with the men in a sense of code like it used to be, because you know what? The crap we got now is a lot of dishonor. I mean, a lot of dudes don't have any consideration for their homeboys. I mean, there was a code at one time where you wouldn't sleep with your homeboy's girl, and that don't seem to be a real thing anymore. I mean, you got all kinds of folks just basically breaking code to do what they want to do, and that's not something that's supposed to be coming of men. But of course, in this effeminized society that we got here, it's like anything goes. If it's what you feel like doing, go ahead and do it. Damn the consequences. Wow, man, I don't think this has served us well over the years, and I think a lot of you would probably agree with me on that. You know, when you have an honor code, you're going to have a better society. Because people are going to say, look, there's certain boundaries that we all should understand, that not just one way, they work both ways. You know, there has to be, you know, communication on with a level of respect that says, hey, look, I'm not going to do certain things to violate your domain. Um, and because we've gotten away from that, we've had a lot of problems in society because of that. We've had people getting murdered over sleeping with somebody else's wife, or vice versa, or somebody's uh, baby mama wants to kill maybe her boyfriend's side chick, and there's a lot of stuff going on now, man. Because there really is no honor. There is some, but it definitely isn't something that's being viciously upheld. It really isn't, and that's a problem. But you also listen to some people tell you, "Oh, that don't matter." Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because you know what? We had a much more respectful society, and people operated in a better way. It definitely created a much more valuable society when people operate that way. Like, listen, none of us are perfect, okay? We all get that, but there should be some things that we should have. We should be principled in some things. Should not just be moral relativism, every way that we go. So it just depends on the situation. No, there's some things that they need to be static. Some things that we get. Those are what principles are. Principles are not something that are up for debate. They're a static thing. If you believe in something and you believe that strong in it, then you have strength in your convictions, means that you're going to uphold that for the most part. You're going to uphold that. But if you're running around looking for excuses to break code, you're really not going to have one. You know, that's just the reality. Um, I think that code made society not only safer for women, I actually think it made it safer for men. Because at least there was mutual understanding. Some of these kids, some of these boys, they're hyper masculine, they're emotional, somebody could say the wrong thing and then they fall off the handle. We got to look at how we got there, but we got to, be honest about what solutions are going to have to be, obviously. We can only control what we can control. There's something that in some people, um, if you ever been, there's certain places they have something that's called serenity prayer, which is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, some people might look at that and say, "Oh, that's one of those recovery people slogans." But you know something? There is something to be said for some of these slogans or virtues that are put forth. There's something to be said about it. Because the question is, are people able to function in society by following those principles? Does that idea say, okay, this gives me the way, a guide of how to navigate myself through the world and through life? That can only be a positive thing if it works for you, if you're able to have peace, you're able to have stability, you're able to have prosperity. Okay? You're able to have respect. Those things are not something that, some of those things are worth more than money in a lot of ways. They really are. They're worth more than money. And we've gotten so far away from having real virtues and principles that we just have a degenerating society. Hell, not just, in the United States, but in other parts of the world too. Well, a lot of it in the West, because since we're going to have this neoliberal mindset on everything, and see how that's working out. You have a lot of dysfunction, a lot of psychosis, and a lot of confusion. Because a handful of people who want to deviate from those things, want to normalize those behaviors. In essence, what they want to do is they want to make their way of life more comfortable and that's only in their own interest. That's not in the interest of overall society. That's just in their interest individually, or as those particular people. So they're not thinking about, how pushing agendas like that are harmful to society. Would they just have an agenda and they don't care? They just want what they want, and damn the consequences, really. So, I'm just like, I realize a lot of people in the world really don't have much. I mean, let's talk about this too, right? As far as the 7 virtues of Bushido, right? Let's look at that, all right? Integrity is the first one, right, on this list here. Integrity is a lot like honesty, but honesty is something that you do out in the open. Integrity is something that you do when nobody else is looking. Okay? So in other words, you're even honest when nobody else is around. That's a big thing. That's really being a person of principle. The second one, respect, right? They say, do unto others, you have them do unto you. So they say, if you give respect, you get respect, right? Well, there's some truth to that. Sometimes not so much. But then you know what? Sometimes you got to demand respect. But respect is important. If you show people respect, and overall, you're going to be given respect in return. Obviously, if you don't give people respect, then you're going to have a lot of problems. So that's very important, right? And then you have courage, right? Which is the third one. Now, as far as courage is concerned, you can have fear and still be courageous. Basically, being able to overcome, courage has a lot to do with overcoming your fears and doing the right thing despite whether it's comfortable for you or not. Doing it because there is a duty for those things need to be done, right? And basically putting yourself out there if you have to for the right reasons. You have honor, which is to honor certain honor. That I think that's a difficult one. I don't know how qualified I am to say what honor is, but I think I can to an extent. I think that honoring, say for example, I'll tell you to honor your mother and thy father, for your days will be longer, right? That's what the Bible says. Well, you know, honor is, I think, another form of respect, but it's a little bit deeper than that. I think honor goes to people who have proven themselves and earned their respect by example, by their actions, or in some cases inactions, and that consistency. You gain honor from some of those around you because they see that you are, you know, a person of, you know, that deserves honor based on your actions, how you treat people, you know, um, things that you do to basically help your community, take care of your family, your children, you know, taking care of your extended families, helping protect the communities, providing things. A lot of those things, putting your life on the line. Okay? When you do those things, you deserve to be honored, especially for the right reason. Compassion. Compassion deals with, having a certain level of care for other people, the suffering of other people, and knowing when to relent. For example, if you're in a fight, or you say, for example, you're practicing mixed martial arts, and you put somebody in a submission hold and they tap. The compassion is that you stop the move that you have them in and you let them go. You release the hold. That's a form of compassion, right? It's also a form of respect. But ultimately, that's saying, okay, I would want someone to do the same for me if I was in the opposite situation. Be able to basically treat others as you hope that they would treat you. And having, a heart. Basically not be a sucker, but be a caring person. Honesty, which again is to, be truthful, to operate in truth, in your endeavors dealing with the world. That's where I say it's similar to integrity, but integrity is actually bigger because that's a form of honesty that goes on even when nobody's looking. And then you have loyalty. This is a big one because you're not going to have loyalty is not going to be an easy thing for you to come by in this world. I can tell you that from my own personal experience. And that's not to say that I'm been the most loyal person or not been the most loyal person in the world, but I can tell you, as a whole, from my experience, loyalty is not an easy thing to come by. You know, you can be the most loyal person in the world and not get a lot of that same loyalty back. And loyalty is dealing with, staying the course with your people. Basically, loyal to whatever the causes are or your principles, and sticking by them. Sticking by, your people. Sticking by, your, having a commitment to your relationships with people, or being committed to your values. So dealing with loyalty to, the bigger picture, basically. Being loyal to the bigger picture. Now, I know someone else can look at that and say, hey, they might have a different take on what that means. But, you know, if you're loyal, that means that you don't switch your allegiances for one that easily, unless there's a reason to believe that you should switch that allegiance. But you should, if you know what I mean. Like, for example, I've been friends with some people since I was in second grade, so I have a certain loyalty to those people. And loyalty is also earned in a lot of ways based on past behavior, or if you've proven yourself somebody that that there's a certain level of trust that you're afforded, and you don't violate that trust. A lot of these things can also help you gain loyalty. And if you show loyalty to the right people, you're gonna make a friend for life, you know. So, and these are, these are principles that are not just particular to samurais or, you know, Bushido warriors. It's not just particular to them, but these are very good principles to live by. And you can have your own list of whatever principles you think. I'm sure that some of these will surely be on there, if not all of them. Some people have longer lists, some people may have a shorter list, but I'm sure that some of these are going to be on anyone's list. Now, when I talk about being on code, that doesn't mean that we all have to agree on the same things. We don't. But if there is a code of conduct and respect and how you deal with people, that's what we have to do in order to be able to have a discussion about something, whether we're going to agree or disagree on something. But people have to have the right to agree and disagree. But what we need to do is be able to, one, be able to communicate, be able to have understanding, and in some cases make compromises to help to get where maybe the group needs to go. Everything's not always about an individual person's wants and needs. Sometimes the group needs do rise above the individual. When you're dealing with a country of people, there are certain interests that all of us have to go above just our individual interests. Okay, the safety of the country, having a solvent economy, things that we have a lot of problems with here. But we have to start thinking in terms of changing the way we operate. And we will find, I think, a lot more success. We will find our ability to have camaraderie with our own, and if we can do that, then I think that's going to translate into the rest of the world, our overall success as the group having the overall success. Okay, because a lot of you brothers, really, some of us, especially young cats, look, you got to clean up your act. You need to start, reading some books. If you don't know how to read, you need to go learn how to read. Okay, there are places that will teach people how to read. You have to be interested in doing these things if you can't read, in fact, because you're missing out on the entire world by the fact you can't read. I can only have sympathy for you if you cannot read. Not to make fun of you. Illiteracy is not a laughing matter, and particularly in the black community, with a lot of black boys not being at their proper reading level. This is a problem that we have to really take seriously. We really do. We need to take it seriously, and we need to do something about it. And we need to do what we can with what when we can. And we have resources to take care of stuff, but we have to be committed to making those to supporting those functions in order to change that problem, to fix that problem, and to make it a lot less of a factor. Because we do. We need to, in order to have a community of strength, the men, you have to have males that can become properly raised men. Have to have that. Not just to protect community, provide community, but in order to have real leaders and warriors in that community that not only just brawny, but also know how to use their brains. We need to have those things. And because some, outside forces or inside forces that want to create this dynamic for fighting for some false sense of power, we need to ignore those. Those people, what we need to do? It doesn't matter if they're in a group, no matter what group they're in. Everybody who is related to you ain't your family. Just keep that in mind. If they are basically financing or platforming your destruction, that's an enemy, plain and simple. And you have to deal with them accordingly. Even if they are family, because let's be honest, sometimes your family can be worse to treat you worse than strangers on the street. That's just reality. And we need to, do a lot of soul searching. I mean, really, look, things are not doing too well now. I mean, economy's terrible, job situation's terrible. We got a media that wants us to just feed us what we want, what they want us, and they just want us to just swallow and not chew. They want us to basically march to our, to the march to basically just slaughter with a smile on our face. I mean, we got to get together, people. And the folks that don't want to follow, look, I'll use an example. When Noah said that it was going to rain 40 days and 40 nights in the Old Testament, a lot of people laughed at him, right? When he built the ark and he had different animals, he had some people that came, there was people that laughed at him. Well, guess what? When it happened, a lot of those same people were ones banging on the side of the boat trying to get in. All right? Don't be one of those people who is going to be there at the last minute and not have a seat on the boat. Don't be one of those people. Because I'm telling you, the things that are going on in this country are not just by accident. All these illegal immigrants coming here, and all this stuff not by accident. You got to understand, these people have agendas. There's a reason they're doing what they're doing. You have to think about survival. Well, that's one reason you need to have a code. Okay? I believe in political survivalism. I believe in survivalism because I come from the generation of, they call them preppers now, but they were called survivalists when I was a kid. Right? Doing what you could to survive in an environment with having the basic goods in order to survive. You were going to have cell phones. You were going to have laptops. You were going to have iPhones. You're going to have any of that stuff. You're not going to have Fitbits. You have a knife with a compass, maybe some fishing line, maybe a needle, a hook, maybe in your little thing there. Big old knife. You go out there, you cut down yourself some shelter, right? You build it from the ground. You eat from nature. If you have to kill something, those type of things. Those, living off the land without having all this technology to do the work for you. Having tools on a basic level. I'm not saying that we all going to go back to that, but we need to consider the fact that that's when man was operating in his most natural state, in one of his most natural states. We're operating so much outside of nature, which is part of the problem that we're having. There's too many things that we allow machines to do for us. People don't talk anymore. You don't have the social. Um, a lot of people don't have the social skills or the social experience to deal with people properly because everybody's plugged in. We need to unplug. You need to connect with other people a lot more. We need to do this a lot more. And they're not encouraging it because they want everybody to go to their space and just consume and just do. We are told we are you are free to do as we tell you. You heard that? You are free to do as we tell you. You are free to do as we tell you. This is the game that's been playing for a long time. But we need to have a code. It's not a leader. The code is the leader, as they say. You can't incarcerate an idea and operating within those ideas, principles and virtues and rules. There's a reason for those things, and I don't want anybody telling me what to do. No, they're there for a reason. It's in order to maintain. They're there to maintain order, and that's the biggest problem here. We have a lot of chaos, a lot of chaotic beliefs, and we are really, come on. We gotta really look at what things do we need to do and how do we need to operate. And I'm telling you, having a code of conduct, having a sense of virtue, having some virtues, some principles to live by and operate by, it's going to make a difference. We all have somewhere to improve, but we need to take this stuff into consideration. We need to surround ourselves with people who are like-minded enough to understand that the same philosophies are good for all of us, not just for one of us. Okay, not like one person gets to be completely no account, another person has to be completely accountable. No, we all have to, put in our proper contribution. We all got to put in our proper contribution to having a better world, having a better society. This is the bottom line. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. And I'll be doing another video sometime this week. Maybe even tomorrow. But again, I'm trying to get this together. I haven't worked too hard to build some subscribers, but I'm definitely looking forward to making some connections out here and really putting out some good content in the near future.